Good afternoon, everybody. We're very excited to do our test.
Hold on, Kim. He's not ready. He says we're not live yet.
It's up on the top left.
It does say we're live. Okay, go ahead, Kim.
Tomorrow is a very special day. We're going to be launching an incredible event, over 50 authors, and it's going to start at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm really excited because we have an incredible array of hosts as well as authors. So just to introduce everybody, Ryan Steck, the Real Book Spy, will be hosting with us. Sean Cameron and Mike Houts from the Crew Reviews will be also joining us. But we want to dive right into our test interview with talented author James Thayer. And please come on, join us if he's in the waiting room.
All right, I'm told James is coming in now.
Hi, James. He's grabbing audio.
Yep. Hello, James. Hey, James, how you doing?
Hey.
Hi, Jeff.
Great to see you, Jim. Do you prefer Jim or James?
Jim, please.
Okay, great.
All right, so we are live with Jim Thayer. Hey, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and at least your most recent book?
I live in Seattle. My wife and I have two daughters. I'm a lawyer, but I've been writing since law school. And my latest book is called House of Eight Orchids, published by Thomas and Mercer. I just finished a new one and sent it to my agent, and he's going to market it shortly. So I've been writing a long time.
I'm a huge fan of historicals, Jim, and I love the intricate research necessary to bring readers back in time and have it feel like an authentic experience. Can you please share an example of research you've done that you feel gives that authenticity or verisimilitude to your stories?
My latest novel takes place in central China in a city called Chongqing, and it takes place in 1937. Chongqing now is a fabulous modern city with 100-story high-rises, but back then it was one of the worst places in the world. There were 500,000 people living there in 1937, and there was no sewage or water system. It was very primitive. The nationalists were marching there from one direction, the communists from another, and the Japanese from a third. It was a city in immense turmoil. And so I began researching and plotting at the same time. And the more that I found out about the city, plotting points would be revealed to me. So I really enjoy researching something that I don't know much about. I used to go to the library at the University of Washington and pay a few dollars a year to go down into the stacks where no undergraduate had been in decades and to find a little point. Now I do all my research online. If I find it on the internet, it must be true. And that's where I do my research.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on and helping us test this out and telling us a little bit about your books. We're assuming you can find those wherever books are sold, Amazon, everything?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Everybody else, check out books from James Thayer. And I'm told that as we transition, we're going to keep our live test going. We have Nick Petrie available as well.
Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
So now we're waiting on Nick Petrie, author of the Peter Ash series.
Looking spiffy.
First book.
Man, I dressed up for you guys.
The Drifter.
Now I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing back where it's supposed to be. Huh.
Very sharp.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Man, see, my camera is not on my monitor. It's on my laptop. There, see? There we go. How about that? All right. So what do you know, folks?
Not too shabby. So Nick, The Breaker, it's coming out soon. Tell us about it, whatever you can.
Well, it's set in Milwaukee, so fans of The Drifter, which is the first Peter Ash novel, will, I think, like to see that setting. It's a different side of Milwaukee. Milwaukee has for years been a place where people made things, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at is with this book is technology and how things get made, and how certain people or groups of people have an incentive to help other people fail in making things. So I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but
well, it's certainly descriptive.
It will when we all read it, and we all will read it. So,
well, you were just in Iceland with this last book. What brought you back home? What kind of drew you back to where you live?
Well, the goal with all these books is to try to do something different, and Iceland was both a real challenge because it was a different culture and certainly a different place, and so that was part of the challenge. And I thought that the book would begin in Milwaukee and then go someplace else, but with COVID, it made it really hard to go do research. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to tell as much of this story as I can in Milwaukee. And it's funny when you're from a place, you don't necessarily understand how rich of a tapestry it might be. And one of the real joys of writing this book was sort of thinking about this other side of Milwaukee and thinking about the other stories I can tell in my hometown. And I don't know, it was a bunch of fun to do, and I'm getting good feedback from our early reviewers. So I'm really happy.
Nick, I read The Breaker, by the way. It's fantastic. We keep talking about this book in Iceland right here. Look at that. I got my props. The Wild One. That's my favorite Peter Ash book, by the way. I just read The Breaker and absolutely loved it. A lot of people refer to you as, and myself included, by the way, the only person who really deserves to be compared to Lee Child, Jack Reacher. You get tired of hearing that? I mean, come on, honestly. Everyone's, you got the next Jack Reacher. Like, you get tired of that at all?
Well, it's in the first place, it's the biggest possible compliment. I mean, of the people that one might be compared to, Lee Child and Jack Reacher is pretty much at the top of the list. The thing is, I think we're doing different kinds of things, right? Jack Reacher is really sort of a Superman, and my character Peter Ash is a much more fallible soul. And he is racked with, self-doubt. He has substantial challenges. He gets hurt. The goal is that these be a little bit more real world than certainly than I'm not trying to not be Lee Child or Jack Reacher, but that I'm not trying to copy anybody. The goal is to write the stuff that turns me on. I'm a giant fan of Lee and of those books. I have not seen the new one with Andrew, and I'm really psyched to see how that's turned out.
It's phenomenal too, by the way. I really like that one as well. What are your books? I mean, so obviously, you won ITW awards. I've seen you nominated for mystery stuff. How would you classify your books? Thrillers, mystery, somewhere in the middle? What do you think? Well,
I think straight thrillers. So it's basically a thriller with a mystery in the middle. And that's something that Lee Child has often done. It's something a lot of writers do. And it's a way to make things a little more complex and a little more interesting. So to me, that's sort of the goal. But I don't really set out with the plan to write any one particular kind of thing. These are just, I just sort of write the next book that I want to read. I mean, there are certainly other ways to go about it. I just don't know how to do any of those other things. They say that a thriller is the hero is trying to prevent something from happening. A mystery is the hero is trying to solve something that's already happened. And so, for me, there's always a little bit of both in the books, and it's part of what keeps me interested. I think maybe I'm not not self-confident enough, or maybe I don't have the plotting chops to write a true mystery, because those are more like puzzle boxes. And I think that's just it's a different animal for sure.
Well, I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
Nick, you've had a lot of high points in your career thus far. What are you most proud of when you think about your writing in your books?
That's a good question. I have to say, not somebody who dwells excessively on the things I am proud of. I am somebody who I enjoy the victory for about 5 minutes, and then I'm immediately focused on the next sort of problem, challenge, whatever. So honestly, I guess thinking larger term, the fact that I've been able to write a book a year for the last 6 years I don't know if that's just endurance or longevity or sheer willpower, but to me, that's the thing that has been the hardest, is to think about, is to work faster and to try to keep the quality of the work where it was at the beginning. And it's, I think it's a problem that lots of writers have, is that first book you have all the time in the world to, write the thing that you most want to see in the world. And then your publisher says, hey, that's great, we'd like another one in a year. And in the world of commercial fiction, there are writers who can do that, once a year or twice a year or 4 times a year. And I'm one who's always fighting pretty hard to do it once a year. So on a purely personal level, I think that's the thing that I'm probably the most proud of. But every once in a while, I go back and I look at the old books and I find a phrase that I like, or a sentence that flows really nicely, or some wisecrack that a character makes. So I don't keep a Bible for the series. So every once in a while I have to go back and sort of say, now what happened in that book again? And so doing that, every once in a while I'll find a phrase I like. And so I'm proud of those sort of writerly bits too.
Well, Ryan mentioned The Wild One, which is, again, one of my favorite books as well. It's hard for me to pick a favorite of yours, but that's definitely up there. However, if there's one thing that was not in The Wild One, I was curious about in your new book, do we see the supporting cast return to a place of prominence in this narrative?
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that readers really talked about with The Wild One. That the challenge for me with that book was to write a book without sort of that supporting cast. And one of the things I really wanted to do with the next one was to really have those other characters, June Cassidy and Lewis, really show up at the very beginning. And they're on the first page, and they're really there all the way through to the end. And that was a different set of challenges. But part of the fun is to set yourself a series of goals and to figure out if you can do it.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on, man, and helping us out ahead of this big event, telling us a little bit more about Peter Ash. Again, your next book, The Breaker, that's book 6 in the series, I believe. That's January 12th, 2021. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. Look for The Breaker, available all formats, remember, anywhere you can buy books. Nick, thanks for coming on. Come back sometime. Let's talk again soon.
Oh, I would love to. Thanks so much, guys. And nice to see your faces.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, man. Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.